Hey everyone, I'm Mike Andes, and today I'm talking about why taxing the rich is actually a really bad idea for the working class and the lower class. Hey everyone, it's Mike Andes, and you're listening to the Business Bootcamp podcast. A big thank you to today's sponsor, which is Gusto. If you haven't already, go to gusto.com/bootcamp. If you do any sort of payroll and you want to get away from writing out checks on every Friday, definitely want to check out Gusto because you can have an online mobile app for your employees to clock in and out of and then write checks to them virtually, ACH, directly into their bank account, all automated. So check it out today. Go to gusto.com/bootcamp and try it out for free for 90 days. And I'm talking about some finer points that I ran into as I've been looking over this past several weeks. And first and foremost is history, because history repeats itself. And if you look back to the time when we last really believed this in America and did it, was back in the 1950s. And in the 1950s, the tax rate for the rich actually went all the way up to 91%. That was the percent on the highest tax bracket in the United States of America. And it started at 20%. It's like if you made $1, you were giving 20% of it away, and it went all the way up to 91% for the rich. The ultra wealthy pay 91% of claimed income as tax. What happened though in the 1950s was not good for the economy. It was not good for the lower class or the working class. In fact, over the course of 11 years, from 1949 to 1960, we had 4 technical recessions in the United States. And there was times when the unemployment actually jumped all the way up to like 8%. So this is another thing that I think is overlooked when it comes to taxing the rich, which has become very, very popular because it's like, hey, if we just tax the rich, we just give money to everyone that is poor, and that will create equality. The problem is this: that would totally work fine if the rich still made money on paper the same way that they would otherwise. But if you raise the tax rate high enough, guess what's going to happen? They're all of a sudden not going to make money on paper anymore. And everyone's like, well, that's cheating. They're cheating. That's why, Jeff Bezos and Musk don't pay any taxes. And the bottom line is because if your tax rate is too high or your tax rate is high enough, you won't sell. You will never sell your assets, and therefore you never have a taxable event because you don't get charged on equity. You only get charged when there's a taxable event. In other words, you sell things. So why didn't this experiment back in 1950s work, and why in the 1960s did we go right back to cutting back the taxes off of the ultra wealthy? In my opinion, one of the things that I've been thinking about is the velocity of money. All right, the velocity of money it sounds like fancy, but really all it means is how many times does money change hands? In other words, if I give $1, I get $1 in wages, and I go spend that on a barber, and the barber takes that money and they go spend it on bread, and the baker goes and spends that money on babysitting. That is velocity money. Money switching hands is a good thing and creates a strong economy because that money has a higher velocity. It moves faster through the economy and can have a much bigger effect. Now, this is the problem. When the bulk of your assets are being handled by the ultra wealthy and they're getting taxed at 90%, for example, very high tax rate, guess what? They're just not going to sell. They're never going to have a taxable event. And what are they going to do? They're going to just hoard assets. They're going to buy real estate and just park money there. They're going to buy stocks and just keep money there. And what does that do? It does 2 things. One, it inflates the prices of those assets massively. Cost of real estate goes up. Cost of stocks goes up. Because guess what? If there's no one ever willing to sell, then the cost will go up. So if you're going to tax the ultra wealthy, what are they going to do? They're going to put their money into assets like real estate, and therefore they're not going to ever sell. And because of that, the price of that real estate, the price of all those other assets are going to go up because there's no sellers in the market. Now, the second thing that this is going to do is it's going to reduce the velocity of money. Because if I give my money to someone else and then they just hold it, that stops the velocity of money. And so if money goes to an ultra wealthy person, they buy an asset and then they don't ever sell it, the velocity of money goes down. And the velocity of money is attributable to a more strong, healthy, robust, growing market and a growing economy. at the end of the day, if the economy is slowing, if people are spending less money, and the velocity of money has been reduced, ultimately that leads to a slowing economy. A slowing economy leads to higher unemployment, and with higher unemployment means that the working class loses their value and their wages begin to stagnate. At the same time their wages are stagnating, asset prices continue to go up in value and inflate simply because the rich, which own most assets, are not going to sell because they want to avoid high taxes. This is why you can have a compounding effect of the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. Because as the rich get taxed more and hold on to more and more of the assets, the value of those assets go up. Well, at the same time, the velocity of money and the economy begin to weaken, unemployment goes up, and therefore the working class loses their ability to make more money because there's no more pressure on employers to give them more money in order to work. At the end of the day, if you want to help the inequality issue, you give people skills, you give them the ability to earn more money at the working class, and then educate them to get assets and eventually begin to move up the socioeconomic ladder. That, in my opinion, is the better way to do it, not taxing people, because at the end of the day, even if the Elon Musks of the world paid all of their taxes and all that money was just given to a bunch of people that were in the working class, most of them would be spending it on depreciating assets, things like an iPhone, things like clothes, because they haven't been given the education required to realize that they need to put that in an asset that's going to be much lower taxes and is going to appreciate in value. So I hope that these videos and the channels that I make help someone start a business, get to the next stage of their career, learn how to build assets, learn how the economy works, and how getting money from the government isn't going to help you. You've got to learn yourself how to gain assets and grow your wealth.